The North Country almost always sends Republicans to Congress. The one exception was Bill Owens. Back in 2009, he won a special election in what was then New York's 23rd. That made him the first Democrat to represent this area in Congress since the Civil War. Two political newcomers are vying to become the second. Yesterday, we heard from Stuart Amorel of Lake Placid. The restaurant owner says his brand of progressive politics could help flip what is now New York's 21st congressional district. Today, we pivot to Amorel's opponent in the Democratic primary. St. Lawrence County farmer Blake Gendebien says his moderate approach can appeal to Republicans and Trump supporters in the general election. We hear more on the case he's making to Democratic primary voters on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Long Run Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor in Lake Placid, providing comprehensive wealth management, retirement, and financial planning solutions. LongRunWealth.com. And the Devlin Inn and Suites, Lake Placid, welcoming families, athletes, and groups to the Olympic Village, offering Adirondack mountain views and dog-friendly accommodations. TheDevlinNY.com.
Hi, I'm Kara Chapman. It's Wednesday, June 10th. Up first, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico are getting ready to host the most-watched sporting event on Earth. The FIFA Men's World Cup starts tomorrow, with Mexico playing South Africa on home turf in Mexico City. Canada hosts Bosnia-Herzegovina the next day in Toronto. The U.S. team opens that same day in Los Angeles against Paraguay. Of course, there are watch parties planned all over New York State. The village of Potsdam got a $20,000 grant for a series of outdoor watch events. David Summerstein reports.
The last time there was a World Cup game was 4 years ago, and Argentina defeated France in a shootout in Qatar in one of the most thrilling finals ever.
Montiel. Argentina, champions of the world!
Because the World Cup is in the United States this time, New York State is handing out about $400,000 to bring people together for those big moments. Potsdam's grant will allow Clarkson University to show 40 games for the public at its campus student center. And during the Potsdam Summerfest, July 9th through 11th, the Chamber of Commerce is mounting outdoor watch parties for 4 quarterfinal matches. Melanie Flack is the Chamber's director.
I think it will just be, hooting and hollering and cheering the games on and side by side with their buddies.
The outdoor watch parties will be on Fall Island, where there's also a beer and wine garden during the festival. Bars and restaurants around the village, including McDuff's, Maxfield, Sergi's, and the Foundry, will also have watch parties. On the other side of the North Country, southern Essex County got $7,500 in state funding for its World Cup celebrations. David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio, Canton.
New York's primary elections are less than 2 weeks away. In the North Country, the biggest races are for the Democratic and Republican nominations in New York's 21st congressional district. Yesterday, you heard about Lake Placid restaurant owner Stuart Amorel, who's running for the Democratic nomination. Today, we hear from his opponent, St. Lawrence County farmer Blake Gendebien, who's viewed as the party favorite. Here's a story from me, Kara Chapman, on why Gendebien thinks Democratic voters should send a farmer to Congress.
Okay, so our next candidate is Blake Gendebien.
Blake Gendebien makes his way onto the stage at a Meet the Candidates event at the Old Waddington Town Hall in St. Lawrence County. In a pastel plaid shirt, blue jeans, and clean boots, he looks the part of the farmer all cleaned up after a hard day's work.
And today, Kyler and I planted about 100 acres of corn.
Kyler is his aide, who is giving him campaign contributors to call while they were on the tractor.
Because it's really important to multitask, right? So thank you for that.
Gendebien is no stranger here. He hugs many of the approximately 80 other candidates and voters. St. Lawrence County is Gendebien's home turf. He was born and raised in Lisbon and returned to the area a few years after college. He and his wife Carmen raised their 3 sons on a dairy farm that's grown to 500 cows and 1,200 acres. The couple also co-founded an organization that helps local families of children with cancer. Gendebien has served as president of the Lisbon School Board and vice chair of the board of Agrimark, the largest dairy cooperative in the Northeast.
It's these experiences that have shown me just how awesome the North Country is, but it also showed me how Washington has completely forgotten us.
That's a refrain Gendebien has repeated throughout his campaign for New York's 21st Congressional District. It's a campaign that started about a year and a half ago. Back in December 2024, Gendebien threw his hat in the ring for an anticipated special election to replace North Country Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. President Donald Trump had nominated her as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. The district's 15 county party chairs unanimously voted Gendebien their presumptive nominee. Trump ultimately pulled Stefanik's nomination, and the special election never happened. But Gendebien stayed on the campaign trail. He spent that time homing in on his priorities, lowering costs, fighting dysfunction in D.C., and saving rural health care.
Right now, our rural hospitals are tied to the railroad tracks, and the Medicaid cuts are coming in November. They're barreling towards them. I want to be part of the solution that helps untie our hospitals and make them successful again.
Gendebien says he also wants to fix what he describes as a broken immigration system. For him, that's about securing the border and deporting people in the country illegally with due process, but also the creation of a year-round guest worker program for agriculture. Gendebien says that'll help cut costs at farms and food processing facilities.
And when we do that, we can drive down costs at the grocery store for everyone. And when we show that it works for agriculture, we can show that it works for healthcare as well.
Gendebien's stances on immigration and healthcare resonate with Bob Ladisare of Canton. He says they reflect the community in NY-21.
Not just as people that grew up in this area, but the people that come here from different parts of the country, from different parts of the world. We all need to learn to live together and to be very productive members of society, and I think that Blake supports that.
Gendebien's viewed as the front-runner in the Democratic primary. He's raised almost $4.7 million. That's more than 40 times what his primary opponent, Lake Placid businessman Stuart Amorell, has reported. State Democrats have added Gendebien's campaign to a coordinated effort to expand their numbers in the midterms. At the Democratic Rural Conference in Saratoga Springs last month, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand talked up Gendebien and said he understands rural America.
He is going to be phenomenal, and he's going to win. You've heard it from me first. He is going to win New York 21.
Gendebien's run coincides with something of an identity crisis for Democrats in the U.S. Moderates and progressives are fighting over which direction their party should go. Gendebien has described himself in the past as a very conservative blue dog Democrat who's a, quote, pragmatic moderate reflection of the district. He's the kind of candidate Democrats here have been comfortable running. Think former Congressman Bill Owens or Matt Castelli, who ran as a moderate 4 years ago. But Castelli still lost to incumbent Congresswoman Elise Stefanik by 18 points. Even though the district is now solidly red, Sean Myers of Potsdam wonders if North Country Democrats should try something different.
The establishment Democrats keep running centrists, and we keep losing. Maybe a change, or something.
Myers says he plans to vote for Amorell, who's voiced support for more progressive positions like universal health care. For his part, Gendebien insists that progressives in his party are important to him and that he wants to hear feedback from folks across the political spectrum. He says he believes his candidacy can transcend party lines, reaching Republicans and Trump supporters.
People are tired of partisan games, partisan bickering. They want somebody who's going to get to work for them, and they know that I am the candidate and I am the person that can deliver for everyone on both sides of the aisle.
Gendebien has secured an independent party line. That means he could remain on the ballot in November, even if he loses the Democratic primary. But he says he'll support whoever wins that nomination. Reporting for WAMC and North Country Public Radio, I'm Kara Chapman in Plattsburgh. Big thanks to Catherine Wheeler and Jimmy Vielkind for contributing reporting for this story. The NCPR newsroom is partnering with WAMC to bring you profiles of the 4 top candidates running to represent the 21st Congressional District. We hear from the Republicans starting tomorrow. Early voting in the primary starts this Saturday. The election is on June 23rd. You can find all our election coverage and more news all the time at ncpr.org. Music today by Hank Soto of Stony Creek and David Archibald of Kingston. I'm Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.